never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi guys, welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today, I've got the honor of speaking to Zulma Williams. Zulma is a woman who proves to us that it is never too late to fulfill your dreams. She is a breast cancer survivor, but she is so much more than that. In fact, she states that she has had breast cancer, but breast cancer hasn't had her. And her story is so important, so poignant, because we have got an incredibly powerful choice to respond to whatever happens to us. We don't need to become victims of something. We don't need to now identify ourselves with whatever bad thing has occurred to you. So it is actually an amazing interview waiting here. Zulma, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Zulma, you have got this lovely accent, which is such a beautiful mixture of the Mediterranean, the Spanish, the American, shake well.
My accent comes because I'm originally from Argentina. I moved to the United States at age 31. So I learned to speak English at that age. I knew how to read and write when I moved, but I couldn't get rid of the accent. And now it's like it is what it is. So
it's beautiful because it makes
Thank you.
you. And in reality, we are all such melting pots as far as our ancestry is concerned, as far as our lives are concerned. And isn't that beautiful if we were actually really to think, I am whatever your identification is. And I love this country. I will fight for this country. Then you look at your ancestry and say, well, actually, I'm also part of the other country.
Sorry, ancestors.
That's right.
So
so maybe I shouldn't be so. And this is so beautiful. It just shows us that sometimes we need to stop, think, feel, and then make sense of what is happening, and then take action. And that applies, of course, to politics, that applies to fighting wars, but more importantly, that applies to every single moment in our lives, because our lives are filled with suspense, if you want to say be positive, tragedy and trauma, if you want to call it what it really feels like for so many people out there. And I don't know anyone who has been unscathed in the last 4 years. I don't know what it was with 2020 to 2024, but there's not a single person who has not gone through tremendous upset in their lives, and often to a point where truly the darkest hour it has been there in this time, or is there actually right now. And you have been in that situation, haven't you?
And yet we survive, right? We are here. So even a global pandemic couldn't take us out. So whatever it is that you are going through, is that shit going to take you out? A global pandemic couldn't.
Okay, I like that. Having said that, I mean, you have been in your life, you've gone through a lot of challenges. What was the most challenging thing? I mean, we know about the breast cancer, and for some people, they would say, oh my God, this would have been the most challenging thing ever. When in reality, when you actually speak to people, they say, yeah, well, that's nothing. Compare that with. Yeah.
Right. So it depends, because each challenge had its own kind of measure at the time that it was happening. But looking in retrospective, I take cancer as a blessing in disguise, because it came to change my priorities and to change my life, eventually for the better. But at the time, it was like, oh my God, like I'm going to die tomorrow. Spoiler alert, I didn't. I'm here. But the thing is that at different times in my life, whatever situation was going on was very challenging. So it's kind of like, okay, this is another challenge that I had to deal with. So I'm not sure in ranking the challenges. I moved from Argentina to the United States. That was challenging. I lost my job at times. That was challenging. I started school at 50. That was challenging. But so I'm not comparing the challenges. They all bring some kind of lesson. And if I learn that lesson and I can identify that lesson, then it's a challenge that is welcome because it's not wasted time. Does that make sense?
Very much so. But it's so easy to get stuck in the victim role, isn't it?
Of course.
And is that not part of being of grieving? Is that not part of actually accepting that something nasty or something very unpredictable has just occurred to you?
Yes. So we are grieving the life that we had prior to the challenge because that is no longer there. So we are grieving that, I was this person and I have my life like this, and that's gone. We had to we had to adjust to the new circumstances, and that is very, very traumatic. We don't like change, and is weird because change is the only constant in life, right? So things are always changing, and we are resisting change, which is a lost battle. Like, we need to learn how to embrace change, but it is so hard. It is so hard because we're like, even if we are not happy, we are comfortable and I don't want to change, right? So not resisting change doesn't mean that you are necessarily happy, but at least you know this misery. So you don't want, I know this misery, like I don't want to start something new, although that something new might, give you the best time of your life. And saying, I already know this misery. So let's keep it like that. So when I was first diagnosed with cancer, I think I was like a victim for probably like 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours, because I was like, why me, right? And then I started thinking, well, I don't have children of my own, but I do have a mom, and I had a sister, and I had nieces. And I started thinking, like, if it wasn't me, would I have preferred that it was one of them? And the answer is absolutely not. So the question changed from why me to why not me? Because I wouldn't want my mom to have breast cancer, or my sister, or my niece, or my friends. And then I moved from the why to what am I learning from this? So when we get stuck into the why question, even if you know the answer to that, it's not going to help you feel better. So why keep asking the same question that keeps you stuck? If we move the question to what am I learning from this? So I learned a lot, because I thought that, oh my God, like I had cancer, I'm going to die tomorrow. And clearly that didn't happen. And breast cancer is one of the cancers that have a best chance of recovery, depending on the stage that it was discovered and the treatments available at the time they are discovered, the age of the patient. So it's like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought that I was going to die tomorrow. So, and it helped me, that particular challenge helped me reprioritize my life. So if I look in retrospect, it was a blessing in disguise. It didn't feel like it at the time, but it certainly came to help me change my priorities. So switching from Or why do I have to go to this change to, okay, this thing is changing, so the sooner I embrace it, the easier it's going to be for me.
It's a
So we
very
better
interesting.
start,
No, you're so
we
right.
better start embracing it, right? Like I
But-
can
No, this is beautiful. I mean, that is obviously the
Thank you.
key lesson that we all want to learn. And truly, when it comes from the heart, wow. But I mean, did the challenges in the past prepare you for that? Because 24, 48 hours of victim role, that's nothing. That's just normal. That's not even normal. No, this must be the 1% on the outlier on that side. So most of us will be much longer in that phase.
Probably, but I made a choice after like 1 or 2 days. I was like, okay, so I can choose to sit in the corner and die, or I can choose to get up and fight.
Mm.
And that was my choice. So the moment that I decided to get up and fight, I wasn't a victim anymore. Now
Absolutely.
I was a fighter. So, but we all have those choices, but sometimes it's not so easy to see. But when we are facing a change, is like what we resist persists. So when I'm fighting with a change, I'm giving all my power away to the change. So the change is more powerful. And if I embrace it, as hard as that is, if I embrace it, it's like, oh, we're not fighting anymore. It's like, okay, come on over. Like, because I'm going to lose this fight. Because the change is going to happen whether I want it or not, whether I like it or not.
Mm.
So the sooner that we move into, oh, okay, here is change. Yeah, okay. I don't like you, but come on over, have a cup of coffee. Like, you're not going anywhere, so I better make you comfortable. Right? And invite you in, because once I invite the change in, then we are doing this together. We're not at war anymore.
You have moved very smoothly in the way you talked from not just victim to survivor, but from survivor to thriver. So that is another step that many people, that takes them months, I would say, on average. From the oh, why me to, okay, what do I need to do to survive that? Well, that's the first thing. That's a fighter. That's a survivor. When you can actually tackle something head on. Okay, I need to make an appointment with a breast surgeon. I need to consider, okay, what options are there for me? Is it maybe chemotherapy? Do I need radiation? Those kind of things. So that's the survivor talking. But you are already, the way you talk is, okay, what lessons can I learn from that? That's the thriver. Now, that is a very quick transition that you're describing there. Most people take months, even years, to get to the thrive.
I thank you for the credit, but I'm not going to take it, because I've been 12 years cancer-free. Yeah. So in reflecting back, I can make it sound like it was like really fast, but the first 3 years of the treatment were very strict. Like I would have to go to the hospital every 3 weeks, and then every month, and then every 6 weeks, and so on and so forth. But I'm kind of like painting a bigger picture that, okay, these are kind of like the steps that I've been through. The timelines might be a little like more extensive than I'm portraying it. But the thing is that when I decided to fight, I was like, okay, then what do I need to do? So I went to the surgeon, and then they wanted to do chemo, and I was like, okay, what are the chances? Right, this is after the surgery. They proposed chemo, and I said, what is the percentage of this treatment? And they were like, what is 50-50? I said, you had to do better than that. I'm not going to poison my entire body just in case that a cancer cell got lost. And you had to give me a 75, 25, 80, 20 for me to do this. So we compromised. And I did, it's a type of chemo, but not the one that, that you get so sick and you lose your hair and all that. And it's like, I am a very active part of my medical team. You are the doctor, but this is my body. I had a doctor in Argentina because I moved to Argentina after my surgery here in the States. And it was a female doctor. And she said, well, if I had breast cancer, this is what I will do. And I said, with all due respect, doctor, you don't. This is my body.
Very cool.
So you have to explain to me why this is a better choice than not doing it, right? So we compromised into a type of chemo per se, but it wasn't as aggressive. And I did radiation and I did what I needed to do, but I didn't take it at face value. Oh, the doctor says. Well, the doctor is going by whatever stats and protocols they follow, but this is my body. So if I don't protect it, who will?
I think that's a really, really valid point there, and an important point. I think the patient needs to be an integral part of decision-making team. But that also puts the duty in your position that you have to be open and learn about the various options. Because often enough, we try to make decisions based upon some very either black and white crap, or because there's never anything black and white, really true, really false. Or indeed, nowadays we're so misled by public media, the big media outlets, which are really, I mean, it's no longer worthwhile even reading a newspaper or watching CNN when it comes to politics and geopolitics, because you're only getting one side of the story. The same applies to the information that you can find about cancer treatments or about anything medical. I remember as a young anesthetist, one night I was looking up the complications for an exam answer. What is the perfect exam answer of all the things that can go wrong when you put an epidural catheter in for labor as pain relief? And I suddenly found on the internet this perfect answer, which was meticulously laid out, every single thing that could ever go wrong. It was the perfect exam answer. And I thought, wow, okay. And it took me an hour to actually write that all down, what they had accumulated. And then I thought, who would make so much work for them? I mean, this was great for me, and then I looked where this information came from. And it was a natural birth center. Okay. For them, the epidural was the Satan. A woman needs to climb the pinnacle of pain to suffer to be a better woman. Yeah, exactly. So therefore, it is information is difficult to. No, wrong. Information is very easy to come by. The difficulty is to actually figure out what is right, what is wrong, what applies to me. How did you go about that? Because so many women out there, 1 in 7 women will face the diagnosis of breast cancer. So many women are out there. How can you find information that you can trust?
Absolutely. Google is your friend. But as you said, it has so much information. What I did, I went into forums from women who were going through breast cancer or have survived breast cancer. And I started collecting the questions to ask the doctor, right? So it's like, because, yeah, and I read the Mayo Clinic, right? Like information, like, so it's like, okay, here is the scientific part. but here is the experience part, that these women went in this path before me, and she wishes that she would have known to ask this question. So this is what I'm writing down and bringing to the doctor.
Beautiful.
So when the doctor is proposing this or that, is like, okay, that's why I asked, what is the percentage? It's not because I'm this genius. It's because I did my research and I collected the right questions to ask. And then by learning from people who had been in the path, it doesn't, of course, and I'm not suggesting that, no, don't go to the doctor, but also listen to the people who have experience with this, because there are a lot of questions that it wouldn't have crossed my mind if I didn't read those forums, right? Like, and these are people who so generous, they're so generous in sharing that information that it's not going to help them, but it's going to help me, because now I'm in that path. And that's why I want to bring awareness. Is I don't know if here in the United States, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's why I'm wearing my ribbon, and I bring awareness into, like, to whomever will listen. I'll share my story, because I found a lump, because like I touched a lump on my breast, and that's what created all these experience. But if I wouldn't have found the lump by touching it or by visually looking at my body, I don't know what would have happened, right? Because my cancer was stage 2A, which is early enough to where the treatment has a success rate. But if I would have done nothing, I probably would have survived probably 3 years or 4 years with no treatment at all. And I was like, I was 46 when I got there. I'm like, oh, hell no, I want to leave. I want to be a therapist. I want to go to school. Like, no, that's not a possibility. But if we don't do the monthly breast exams, or if we don't do the mammogram, or whatever it is available to you, you're not going to know. And you mentioned that prostate cancer is more prevalent, and I will make a generalization here, but I think it's because males don't go to the doctor until they are dying. So they don't know they have prostate cancer because they don't do the annual checkup. Am I wrong? I mean, you are a guy.
Guilty as charged.
Right. So it's like, oh, okay, that's an important piece of information, right? So having your annual checkup, your annual mammogram, in going to the gynecologist, having your pap smear, right? Like, because a lot of these illnesses are very silent. So if you don't have those checkups,
absolutely,
you're never going to find out. And I don't know how prostate cancer is detected, but I will presume that a guy will have to see a neurologist, and it's like, okay, well, I don't have time, and I feel great. That's one point I want to make. I didn't feel any different when I had cancer. If it wasn't for the lump, I would have known that I had cancer. I wasn't losing weight. I wasn't gaining weight. I wasn't feeling any different.
But these are late symptoms. You would only experience that once the cancer has gone way
metastasized,
over. Exactly.
And that's why it's important that we have these checkups, because we need to catch it when we can do something about it.
100% agreed.
So it's like, okay, so now when it's your appointment with a urologist.
But luckily, as men, we can just go for a blood test. We are a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so the PSA is actually a marker for something not so easy happening. So we are a little bit more. It's a little bit less invasive to get some blood taken. But having said that, which man does have a regular relationship with his family doctor or GP. Yeah, exactly. You
Right.
don't. You don't
You don't.
unless something really happens. And I think that is my shout out. If there's anything you guys want to do, anyone listening out there, if you haven't seen your GP, your family physician in the last year, please make an appointment. It does not matter which age you are at. I think there is always good to keep a very good relationship with a doctor who will bat for you, who is your wingman, so to speak, your sister in crime, who will be there for you. And in order to do so, they need to get to know you. They need to get to know you also when you're in good shape, when you're in a good condition, and then they can pick up later. Okay, hang on. Last time you looked very different. You behaved very different. What's happening? Oh, actually, and then suddenly there's a treatment relationship there on which you can build, rather than, okay, now you're at the bottom of the cliff and the ambulance is arriving. And
right. And you need to do kind of like establish a baseline with your blood work, right? Like, so you do that when you are healthy, so
Absolutely.
that anything that moves from there. But you mentioned like males don't go to the doctor unless something is happening. Even when something is happening, you don't go to the doctor unless you have a woman nagging you and you go to the doctor so she can shut up.
Oh, cliches. Come on. Bullshit. Okay, I do admit it. You're actually right. And you're right. But the problem is also probably I would guess that the distribution of my viewers and listeners is probably far more women than actually men. So that also applies to self-help. That also applies to a lot of other things in life. So guilty as charged, we men do need to pull our socks up and show up for ourselves. Having said that, ultimately, that applies to every single human, regardless of the chromosomal states that we have got. We need to show up for ourselves, and many of us don't. Many of us have had experiences earlier in life, i.e., from age 2 till 10 or thereabouts, in which we learn attachment styles and behavioral patterns that do not suit us. For example, the fear avoidance. For example, the completely neglecting ourselves in favor of people pleasing, doing everything for everyone else, but not for ourselves. And I think that is at least half of the population have got such attachment styles, maybe a third, but it is to have that really grounded, perfect person who is always showing up for him or herself. Yeah, about that. I'm yet to meet them. Statistically, they should be out there, but I have not met them yet. They must all be congregating somewhere on this world.
Well, and the thing is that especially for a lot of women, if they have children, they're like, well, I don't have time. But the thing is that you cannot give from an empty cup, right? So you have to fill your cup first in order to be there for others and for your children. So my argument to those people is, well, okay, so you don't have time. You are busy with the children, you're busy with work, you're busy with a house. But God forbid, if your child has an emergency, you're going to drop everything and take care of that, right? So you make the time. And what I'm arguing is don't wait until you end up in the hospital with a heart attack to take that time. Do it in your own terms. So go to the doctor. So you don't have the time. You will have to make it so that you can continue. If anything, if you don't want to do it for yourself, which we can talk 3 years about it, but if you don't want to do it for yourself, that okay. But if you want to be there for your children, so you have to take care of you first. Because then who's going to take care of your children when you are in the hospital with a heart attack?
a very, very wise point. And it's good that we make this point here, because the regular checkups, regular health visits are of such paramount importance, and most people don't realize that. We always are striving to run away from pain, and even going to the doctor can be pain, can be financial pain, can be just a reminder that you are no longer 21, even if deep in your heart you feel like it, when in reality middle age has slowly come to say hello.
Creep up, right.
Or even has overtaken you, and you're actually now in your golden years and you still feel 21 inside. That can be hard, and those realizations that we are not bulletproof, and that we actually have to show up for ourselves in all the pillars of our life, is sometimes not a welcome message for many of the people around me. That's for sure.
Yes, but I always say that information is power. So let's say that you go to the doctor and they find something. At least you know what you are fighting with, and then what the steps are. But ignorance is bliss, denial is bliss, but how far is going to take you? So if you go to the doctor, so a lot of people say, well, I don't go to the doctor, I don't like bad news. Okay, but okay, just sit at home. The bad news are going to come to you, and it's not going to be pretty, right? Like, so it's kind of like,
True.
oh, if you do blood work and I know I'm not a doctor, but I know that high blood pressure is called the silent killer because it has no symptoms, right? So how are you going to know that you need high blood pressure medication if you don't go to the doctor,
Very
right?
nice.
So then it's like, oh, okay, well, you're going to find out sooner or later. I rather know so that I can inform myself and take action than just wait at home for like, oh, okay, well, when I have a heart attack, I know that I had high cholesterol or whatever, right? Like, so it's too late then. Like, if I need a bypass, so it's kind of like when we start taking charge of ourselves and our lives, and we are like, okay, this is hard. It's hard to know, but it's harder not to know.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love your attitude. The problem is, truly, the problem is that, we are talking about prevention. For many people, they will not do that, and then suddenly it's too late, and suddenly they are confronted with typically a combination of disasters, because it never only drizzles, does it?
Right.
When it happens, it rains. Exactly. So, and there will be times when the darkness surrounds you in such a way that you can't see the slightest bit of light, and really everything is dark. And for many people, that has happened in recent months and years. In fact, I did a little informal survey, and the last 10 men I spoke to honestly, not just a typical superficial bullshit, but actually honestly spoke to, all admitted to me that they had suicidal thoughts. And the only reason that they are still here is that they didn't know how, they didn't want to impact their children. That's really what was boiling it down to. Now, statistically, 1 in 20, 1 in 10 people every year think of suicide. So these are the statistics out there, and this is probably underreporting.
Absolutely. So the thing is that my take on that, and I have dealt with suicidal ideation myself several times throughout my life, and I came to realize that it's not necessarily that I wanted to die. I just wanted the pain to stop, the emotional pain to stop.
Exactly.
So when I have a client who expresses suicidal ideation, I ask, do you really want to die, or are you tired?
Beautiful.
And 9 out of 10 times, because suicidal ideation is very real, I don't want to diminish the importance of recognizing it and treating it. But 8 or 9 out of 10 is like, I'm exhausted. I don't have the energy. I'm tired of the emotional pain, or the emotional and physical pain. I'm tired of doing, like trying and doing it and not coming ahead, right? And the thing is, when you are tired, you need to rest. You don't need to kill yourself, right? But going back to the black and white perspective that you mentioned earlier, is like, well, if I don't want to live, then I had to die. And the thing is that I don't want to live like this. Not necessarily that I don't want to leave. So what is it that I need for myself right now? So, well, I'm so tired of the emotional pain. Okay, then take a break, get the help that you need, rest, and then come back and continue to fight. My take on this is, if you woke up this morning, your mission in life is not completed. Whomever your higher power beliefs are, if you woke up today, it's because it wasn't your time to be up there. So how can you deal with today the best that you can? In recovery, we said one day at a time, but sometimes one day is too long. So if one day is daunting, take it 1 hour at a time. And if 1 hour at a time is too much, take it 15 minutes at a time. Can you do this for 15 minutes? Well, yeah, I can push through for 15 minutes. Okay, at the 15-minute mark, rinse and repeat. 4 of those make 1 hour. 24 of those make 1 day. 7 of those make a week. 4 of those make a month, and 12 of those make a year. And that's how we continue on the path. 1 day at a time, or 1 hour at a time, or 15 minutes at a time.
I love it.
Suicide doesn't take the pain away, you just give it to someone else. So I completely understand what these men want related to you, that, oh, I don't want my children. I don't want to give that pain to my children. Right, because the pain is not gone. You just give it to someone else.
Wow.
And how selfish could you be to give it to someone else? And yes, I'm guilt tripping everybody who is listening. But if that's what I need to do in order to keep you alive, that's what I'm going to do. I was tired, and not necessarily I wanted to die. I couldn't imagine the pain that my mom would have gone through if I suicided. So I didn't do it. And men they're more successful in completing suicide because they use more lethal means, a gun or whatever it might be. So although it's not, and I'm sure that the statistics are grossly underreported, but it's like, okay, just put that gun down, take a deep breath, connect with your surroundings, and push through for 15 minutes. That's all what I'm asking, 15 minutes. And then in 15 minutes, push through for another 15.
And I think there's something more to be said about that. What we are suddenly experiencing as humans is pain to such a degree that it is really so outside of our comfort zone, and we have not been there, or it is all becoming too much. We are not used to experiencing negative emotions. We are not trained. We haven't trained ourselves to sit with our emotions. Many men and women out there are escape artists and very highly successful in doing so. We escape with shopping. We are escaping with sex, with sugar, with alcohol, with drugs, with other behaviors such as gambling, etc. So we are escaping our emotions unless you have gone through some kind of therapy, which typically comes about because you've gone through some kind of trauma, that you actually start to learn the importance of emotional intelligence. It is only now, going through a divorce, that I've done a course on radical self-compassion. And one of the
I love
exercises,
it.
one of the exercises in this course was to conjure up a negative emotion. And at that time, when I did it at the start of this year, it was fear. And it was very easy for me to have this tsunami of fear washing over me and not run away from it. The exercise was to sit with that emotion. And in this case, it was 3 or 5 minutes. These were the longest bloody 5 minutes in my life. It is normally, you feel a big wave coming, and okay, you either try to get to land or do things to escape. But now to actually sit with that emotion, feel it, see what it does, see the responses in your body that are elicited from it. That was brutal. But the exercise then was also to thereafter accept and investigate what has just occurred and then nurture yourself, look after yourself.
Yes.
And this was so beautiful. So
I'm so happy that you are doing that and you have done that, because that shows you that although it was the longest bloody 5 minutes of your life, you survived. So
exactly.
Whatever comes your way, we have survived every challenge. We are 100% successful on surviving all the challenges in our lives because we are here.
Mm.
But we forget. So there have been many, many times in my life where I was like, oh my God, I cannot deal with this.
Mm.
And I dealt with it to the best of my ability at the time. But the point is that if you would have asked me, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to survive this.
Mm.
And here I am, right? Like, so we have a tendency to forget all the challenges that we have conquered. And now it's like, yeah, no, I cannot deal with this fear. This fear is overwhelming and I cannot deal with it. You have dealt with fear your entire life, but you forgot to give yourself the credit for surviving that, right? Like, so now that the fear is right here in front of you and you embrace it and you're like, oh my God, like when are these 5 minutes over? And then once you've done that, it's like you came on the other side. And that's where life begins, on the other side of fear.
You're so right. And this is beautiful. We keep forgetting that, isn't it? We have got 80,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those 80,000 thoughts are negative. They're either reflecting back, we are suddenly remembering something where we stuffed up 40 years ago or 5 years ago. So what? Why do we have to relive those kind of things? Most of the time, these memories don't serve me and these memories don't give me anything.
Exactly.
So it's bizarre, but yet they come there, and often enough, still they might result in right now, in the here and now, result in a physical response that I maybe try to protect myself instinctively, or I feel my blood pressure going up or heart rate going up, the adrenaline rushing from something that happened 5 years ago. Bloody hell. So this is just stupid. And fear is the future.
Absolutely. So fear, so it's like, oh, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of right this minute? What are you afraid of? Nothing, because you're present with a conversation, right? Oops, sorry about that. I'm very animated when I talk, but you're present with the conversation.
Yeah.
So when we are present in the moment, there is no anxiety and there is no depression. So anxiety is about trying to control the future, which is impossible because the future is not even here. Or what's going to happen on Thursday? Well, today is Monday for you, Sunday for me. Today is Monday for you. You might die tonight. Don't worry about Thursday. You're not going to make it. Anxiety is taking your peace from this moment, but it's not making that thing that you are anxious about come anytime sooner. And depression is about something that happened in the past that we are ruminating. Oh, I wish I would have done whatever. So instead of ruminating on what I didn't do, how about if I look at it and learn from that experience so I can do better in the future, right? So I can do better next time that I'm confronted with that situation. I cannot turn back time. I can't. But if I reflect on that and I'm like, oh yeah, I wish I would have done A, B, and C. And now the situation presents itself and I can do better. When you know better, do better. So one way that I encourage my clients to deal with negative thoughts. So let's say that you made a mistake at work. So now this negative thought is I'm a failure. Right? So first step is to identify that thought. I'm a failure. And we're going to put that thought on trial. So the first question, we're going to cross-examine that thought. So the first question is there evidence to support this thought? Well, yeah, I made a mistake at work. I cannot do anything right, right? Like blah, blah, I'm stupid. Okay. So then the next question is there evidence contrary to this thought? Well, I made a mistake yesterday, but usually I'm pretty good at what I do at work, and I'm learning from this experience. I'm not going to make this mistake again because I learned from it, and I'm usually on time and I pay attention to detail, and I'm good at what I do. Oh, then the next question is, I'm attempting to analyze the situation without all the evidence. And the answer is yes, because when you are considering yourself a failure, you're only focusing on the mistake that you made yesterday, but not on the second answer, right?
Nice.
And then the next question is, how would a friend attempt to look at this situation? Because we are our worst enemies. The expectations for Zulma are over here. For the rest of the world are down here, right? We hold ourselves to unrealistic expectations all the time. And we're never going to do that to our best friend.
True.
Right? Oh, you're so stupid. You should lose your job. You're a failure. We're never going to do that. Say that to our friend. We're going to be like, okay, you made a mistake. Learn from it. Do better next time, right? But to ourselves, well, boom, 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 right? And then the last question is, will this matter in a year from now, in 5 years from now? So the point of the exercise is that after you answer all the questions, the thought cannot stand because it's not true. Don't believe your thoughts simply because they are there.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Having said that, we have got 80,000 thoughts. That's a hell of a lot of thoughts. And most of them are running in the subconscious. You know, if I ask you yesterday, please tell me one concrete thought that you had yesterday, you probably struggle a little bit and have to think for a moment.
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So therefore, unless you write these things down, unless you journal, unless you actually find other means of recording such thoughts and taking time out to verbalize, or even better, actually write things down, then you are not able to deal with them. They are just becoming this nebulous kind of onslaught of nasty neurochemical triggering soup of negativity. And that we can do better than that. And I think that is so beautiful. I've started doing anxiety lists, and rather than to-do lists, I, at times when I feel overwhelmed, I write down anxiety lists and I immediately deal with it in the sense of, is there, okay, right now, what really worries me? And I write it down. And I then do a similar process as you have just suggested with the negative thoughts. I do the same there. Is there, I don't ask the why, I just accept. I'm anxious about that. And sometimes there are things that I can't do anything about. And then I write that down. Well, actually, I can't do anything about that. Just me acknowledging and actually writing it down, it brings a little bit of closure to that aspect of anxiety. The point in my mind has not gone away, but I've accepted it. I've given it the respect it deserves, but now I'm allowed to move on. And it's those kind of things. Other things which give me anxiety, but which I know will take me less than 2 minutes to deal with, I'll do right now, there and then. Tick, tick. So suddenly that is gone. And so by actually addressing anxiety this way, it's really beautiful. Instead of a to-do list, I've also started to create win lists, or gratitude lists. Can be a mixture of both, in the sense of, okay, what have I achieved yesterday? Where did I show up for myself? And by just listing those things, I suddenly had to realize, oh, wow, I did quite a bit yesterday. And often enough, we keep forgetting that. If you do a to-do list, and if you are like me, a super achiever, or however you call it, a 110%er, well, guess what?
Right, a perfectionist, right?
Exactly. If you'd imagine that, then my to-do list, Superman on steroids, would not have been able to even do, 25% of my to-do list. And here I was looking at my to-do list and saying, see, you couldn't even get that sorted. You're a failure. So I prove to myself every single day with my to-do lists, I'm a failure.
Absolutely.
And how bizarre is that?
And if you look for that evidence, you're always going to find it.
Absolutely.
You're always going to find it. So I think the secret, which is beautiful, what you are doing, and that is the key word, doing, right? When you're taking action, you are out of your head and into the present moment. Yeah. So when you are writing that, you are fully present. We are telling the brain, so the brain is like this 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum 24/7. And we are telling the brain, I hear you, but right now I'm working, or right now I'm doing the interview, or right now I'm cooking, or right now, whatever it is that I'm doing. Because anybody who has children or has babysat, like I don't have children, but I babysit. It's like the kid is throwing a temper tantrum because he or she wants your attention, not because anything is hurting. When something is hurting, the cry is different. So you, by giving attention to the temper tantrum, that's how they are going to communicate. So because we are not communicating with our brain, it's throwing a temper tantrum 24/7. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. Yeah. So it's like, okay, take a deep breath. I hear you, but right now I'm doing this other thing. I get back to you when I get back to you. That is showing your brain that you are the boss, not your brain. You're showing the kid that he's not the boss. You are the parent. So you are in charge, not the kid throwing a temper tantrum. And it's the same with your brain. Your brain is a part of you, but you are bigger than your brain. So you are in the driver's seat about what the brain does.
Nice. I like that. Oh, I like that a lot.
So, hey, thank you for popping up. But right now, oh my God, I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday. Again, today is Monday at whatever time. And it's like, okay, thank you for popping up. Right now, I'm working. I will take care of that on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Like, or at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my God, I had to cancel my appointment. Well, you will have to wait until tomorrow at 8 o'clock to cancel the appointment, because if you call the doctor's office at 3, nobody's going to answer.
Nice.
Thank you for popping up. Right now, I'm trying to sleep. Deep breath, and you start touching the sheets or your pillowcase, and you start describing that. You cannot be freaking out about tomorrow at 8 and describing the pillowcase. So you are telling your brain, again, you are the boss, you are telling the brain, okay, I know you want to freak out about that, but right now we're going to describe the pillowcase. You had to be fully present in order to describe the pillowcase. You cannot be dealing with that thought and describing it's impossible. But who is in charge? You are, not the brain.
Exactly.
And if you pay attention, if you let the brain is going to drive you nuts. So when you are doing something, you are getting out of your head and into the present, literally out of your head and into the present moment.
And if you look at successful people out there, highly successful people, Steve Jobs, for example, was renowned to walk around. He would do a lot of very activities that would bring him back into the present. And with that, he allowed himself to be grounded, literally, by walking bare feet, but also grounded right now in presence by taking action. And I think that is...
No, go ahead, sorry.
No, and that is such a powerful thing, because we often think we are powerless, we are helpless, but even in reality, there are so many things that you can train yourself to do, and that, as with everything, the first time you do them, you feel goofy and you feel that is not working, and what a bullshit. Let that be a meditation. Let that be you going to the gym the first time. You can't even lift the lightest weight, whilst other people throwing things around that you think you can't even lift in your lifetime, But it is the same with all these coping mechanisms. First of all, accept that there is help out there, because that's the truth. Absolutely. There is actually hope there. You might just not be able to see it at this moment in time. That does not mean to say that you can't do things. You can actually keep yourself hydrated, eat healthy, move your body, connect to people who are amazing and who are often there waiting for you, are there to actually to give you that hug that you need. But because you keep yourself closed to your environment and to the people out there, they don't know how much that hug would mean to you, how much that text of support would mean, that phone call would mean. So there are so many things that you can do right now that actually might set yourself up to either move on from the situation in which you are, or to prepare you for better times, to lay the foundation for the new you, which is waiting to emerge like the phoenix from the ashes. So whatever part of your life has just burned down, and you're standing in front of it, whatever that was, it has happened. You can't undo it. You can't change the past, but you can take action right now and prepare for a better future. And sometimes if you just start taking these little tiny steps, the first step might be difficult, but after a few steps you get used to taking action, and suddenly you move forward without you realizing. And you always underestimate how far you can actually go if you consistently invest in yourself. And that might be, eating a little bit more healthy in every meal. You don't need to completely change the world. but you can add one salad leaf or one tomato into
Right.
okay. So, and if you then tomorrow add not just a tomato, but a bit of onion in there, and then maybe some more
Right.
greens, okay.
Right.
But in a month's time, your eating habits will have changed dramatically, and your body will suddenly be nourished to a degree that your gut bacteria will actually say, hey, you know what? Let's throw some serotonin out there. And serotonin is our happiness or our feel-good hormone. So here you go. 95% of it is done in the gut. So here you are by taking that little tiny step, that little extra salad leaf, that little bit of extra fiber, that little bit extra vitamin. Suddenly your bacteria say, okay, a little bit more serotonin, a little bit more other goodies. And life is changing. So
Absolutely.
I
Your future, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no. We both are so passionate. Ladies first, you are my guest, girl. Please.
I was going to say your future starts today. So don't allow that huge perfectionistic come into the picture and say, oh, well, if you, let's say you want to incorporate exercise, and if you walk 2 blocks today, it's more than you have done yesterday. So walk 2 blocks today, block 4 walks tomorrow, walk 6 blocks the next day. And then eventually you continue to do this, you're going to be walking your target, whatever it is that you want to achieve by exercising. And I always say, let's not compare ourselves to other people. Let's compare ourselves to ourselves yesterday. I'm doing better today than I was doing yesterday. But it's all on me. So if I'm walking 5 minutes today, it's more than what I have done yesterday. So yay. No, but I want to be walking 40 minutes. Okay, you just keep adding 5 minutes at a time and you're going to get there. It's about consistency, not about, if I walk 40 minutes today, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow. And that's it. But if I start building up, so as you were saying, like, let's incorporate something healthy. Let's not change the diet completely, but let's start incorporating more and more things that are healthy. And then eventually we are going to arrive there. So, but it's so important that we recognize the little progress. We are not looking for perfection. We are looking for progress. Did I walk today? It's a good day because you might not be where you want to be, which is at 40 minutes or whatever it might be, but it certainly took you out of where you were, which was 0. So you are here. But as far as you continue to put one foot in front of the other, you're going to make it here.
Beautiful.
I have no doubt, because you keep moving. So as far as it doesn't matter how fast you go, eventually you're going to arrive because you keep moving.
And to come back to breast cancer, we know that there are many things that you can do to reduce your chances. Many people don't talk about that. We often talk breast cancer, okay, something that somehow happens to you. But we know that diet is hugely responsible for the increase in the cancers. We know that regular alcohol consumption can contribute and increase your chance of you developing breast cancer. We know that indeed the many other factors play together to increase your risk of chronic disease. If we were to start actually changing our lives, if we put some healthy rituals and habits into place, if you were to say, oh my God, what can I possibly do to reduce the risks? Well, again, there are a lot of things that you can do. So breast cancer awareness should start with you looking at the stress in your life. You're looking at your sleep. You're looking at the poisons that you put into yourself, the way you support your cells by nutrition. There are so many things that we can do. And it does not matter what happened yesterday. The past does not equal the future. Right now, you can make choices, and you have got that privilege of choice every single second in the day. And if you look at highly successful people, they've got the same amount of seconds as you have. It's just likely that they take different choices, they make different choices, take different opportunities, look at obstacles or trauma, etc., not as the limiting or destructive forces that there are, but as opportunities to grow. And that is hard. That is really, really hard. Don't get me wrong. This is not something that you just wake up and think, yeah, let's do that. But it is something that you can practice. It is something that you can go out there and step by step try. Just as much as you go to the gym, after a few months in the gym, you will be quite comfortable in the gym, number one, compared with when you were full of fear and when you were full of anxiety. What will they think of me if I can't even lift that weight? But now you're going in there with a self-confidence and your body is used to it, to actually moving those weights. How about you now starting to be comfortable with addressing challenges in your life because you have practiced that? There's no longer the fear avoidance there that so often stops us from trying something, but you're actually showing up for yourself in a far more natural way. And that is the power. That is what we all can do. And that's what Zulma here has modeled in her life. And she certainly had her dark moments, but here she is, helps others to actually conquer these self-destructive thoughts, those patterns that really don't suit us so well. There are so many things that you can do. And we both are clear examples that there is hope and that there is help out there. So guys, don't give up. Zulma, if people want to get in touch with you and if people want to know more about you, where can they find you?
I have, my Instagram is called The Swearing Therapist because I kept it clean for the show, but I swear a lot. So the Swearing Therapist, and my website is Dragonfly Therapy Services.net. I have my story in my website in the About Me section. And I wanted to mention something about change is so hard, but how much harder is to not change.
You're an amazing woman. Guys, look down there. You are. Look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because you've got all of Zulma's information down there. Whilst you're down there, please hit the like and subscribe button and tell your friends about our show, because there is hope out there and we often can't see it. Often we feel that everything is lost, when in reality, it's just a new chapter is beginning in your life. And I want to encourage you to dig deep, get through the next moment, take little steps, take action on a consistent basis. And suddenly you feel that you get traction and that you actually, that life changes. And then you look back and think, did I do that? Wow. And suddenly there's this feeling of confidence coming up, and that feeling of respect to yourself, of love to yourself. And that is such a beautiful thing. So guys, come along for the journey. Zulma, thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. I had a great time. Thank you.
And you out there, look after yourself and live with intention. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.